In 2024, the highly anticipated Gladiator II makes a stunning debut. 24 years ago, the epic Gladiator became an unforgettable classic for many. Now, the new installment achieves another breathtaking breakthrough in scale and sensory experience. The bloody battles between humans and beasts are no longer enough to satisfy the ever-growing desires of the Roman nobility. They even introduce seawater and sharks, creating even more brutal and horrifying scenes, and this cruel act has a shadow of real historical events. The story begins with Commander Acacius leading the Roman Empire in a fierce war against the small North African city of Numidia. Facing the overwhelming enemy, Lucius and his wife bid their final farewell, knowing that disaster is imminent. As the distance between the two sides closes, catapults hurling flaming oil are frantically launched at each other. Causing heavy casualties on the battlefield. With their superior firepower, the Roman warships inch closer to the city walls. Acacius leads the charge, and his soldiers surge onto the battlements like a tide, overwhelming almost everyone in their path. Leaving only Lucius desperately resisting, but at that moment, a barrage of arrows rains down, instantly piercing his wife's chest. Watching his wife fall from the wall, the grief-stricken Lucius is ambushed from behind and knocked unconscious. In a semi-conscious state, Lucius sees the Grim Reaper leading his wife's soul away. The cruelty of the battlefield is laid bare in this moment. Acacius orders all the bodies to be burned. Lucius, as a captive, is branded as a slave and thrown into the dark, damp hold of a ship, brought back to Rome. At that time, Rome appeared prosperous, but in reality, the constant wars had left the people in misery, and the empire was on the brink of collapse. Acacius, seizing the opportunity of this victory, petitions the Roman co-rulers to temporarily halt the wars, allowing the people to recover. He also longs for more time with his wife. However, the co-rulers plan to send him to continue campaigns in India and Persia, and Acacius can only suppress his anger. The kings referred to here are Emperor Geta and Emperor Caracalla, whom I refer to as the co-rulers. The scene shifts to Lucius being brought to the arena. These slaves must first prove their ability to survive. As the gate slowly rises, a ferocious and aggressive baboon, eager to tear and devour the living humans before it, can hardly contain its bloodthirsty nature, but one of the slaves sits on the ground, dejected, having lost all desire and meaning to live. The baboon instantly pounces on the slave. Lucius rushes forward without hesitation. He quickly crouches down, mimicking the baboon's posture, and as it lunges, he tightly embraces it. They fought fiercely, and the enraged Lucius even begins to bite like a wild animal. His desperate fighting style catches the attention of the wealthy slave owner Maximus. Soon, the baboon makes a mistake, and Lucius locks its neck tightly, ultimately defeating it. The next day, the surviving slaves are brought before Maximus. The powerful Lucius easily defeats the trainer of the gladiators with his bare hands. Maximus immediately realizes that this man will be an excellent tool for his rise to power. Meanwhile, with the help of his wife Lucilla, Acacius successfully wins over a group of senators who are discontent with the co-rulers. They secretly plot to overthrow the co-rulers' rule and restore Rome to its republican glory. Acacius has secretly trained 5,000 loyal soldiers, who are just 1 week away from reaching Rome. Soon, Lucius faces his second battle. As the arena gates slowly open, he sees a formidable man riding a rhinoceros, the previous champion of the arena, Gladiator. Facing such a powerful opponent, Lucius is not afraid but instead feels a surge of fighting spirit. He already has a strategy to defeat his opponent. However, how can an ordinary person easily stand against such a beast? Gladiator throws a half-horse lock. Lucius boldly drops his weapon and grabs a handful of dust from the ground. Seeing this, Glycio immediately turns the Rhinoceros and charges full speed at Lucius. The crowd erupts in deafening cheers, but Glycio, the previous champion, is experienced and formidable. The two quickly engage in a thrilling hand-to-hand combat, and soon, Glycio gains the upper hand with his experience. According to the arena's custom, the victor decides the fate of the loser. In the stands, Lucilla pleads with the co-rulers for mercy, but the proud and self-respecting Lucius requests to continue the duel. Lucius's fearless performance deeply impresses the audience, and the atmosphere reaches a climax. But back home, Lucilla feels uneasy, as Lucius's fighting habits remind her of Maximus. They were once lovers, and Lucilla bore him a son. To protect the child from the whirlwind of political struggles, Lucilla sent him away to Africa. To confirm her suspicions, Lucilla, dressed in black, secretly enters Lucius's room with the help of a friend. However, the touching reunion scene does not occur. Lucius had recognized his mother in the arena. He was angry at her for abandoning him and at her husband's role in destroying his home and killing his wife. Feeling guilty, Lucilla leaves in silence. Back home, Lucilla tells Acacius everything, hoping he will save their son. Acacius knows that Lucius's third duel will be a matter of life and death, unless they can act quickly to overthrow the corrupt rule of the Roman co-rulers. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation is overheard by a servant hiding in the shadows. Soon, the third duel arrives. To celebrate the victory in the Persian Sea battle, the Romans fill the arena with seawater and release sharks, attempting to recreate the brutal scene of a naval battle. Both sides exchange a volley of arrows, and a man falling into the water is instantly torn apart by the sharks. Under Lucius's calm command, the crew quickly pulls in the oars and rams their ship into the enemies, causing it to lose control. Lucius then turns the ship around and rams the enemy vessel again, splitting it in two. Taking advantage of the enemy's disarray, Lucius jumps onto their ship and engages in fierce hand-to-hand combat. In the stands, Lucilla watches anxiously, her heart racing. Under Lucius's leadership, the slaves fight fiercely, and the sharks feast on the bloody spectacle. At this moment, Lucius picks up a crossbow and aims it at Acacius, driven by a burning desire to avenge his wife. But in the chaos, someone pushes him from behind, and the crossbow bolt flies towards the co-rulers. The arena erupts into chaos, and the duel is abruptly halted. Acacius knows the co-rulers will not let this go, and the slaves are likely doomed. That night, he dons a black cloak and, with his men, secretly makes his way to the dungeon to rescue Lucius. But he is unaware that soldiers have already arrived at his home and taken Lucilla away. The secret passage is also guarded by archers, ready for an ambush. The servant who overheard Acacius and Lucilla's conversation sold the information to the slave trader Macrinus for personal gain. Soon, Acacius and Lucilla are brought before the co-rulers. As Acacius is a prominent figure in the Roman Empire, the co-rulers are unsure how to punish him. Macrinus, with ulterior motives, suggests letting the gods decide Acacius's fate in the arena. The next day, Acacius steps into the arena, ready to face two brutal rounds of combat to clear his name. After signaling to the opponent, Acacius fearlessly charges at his opponents, fighting 4 against 1, but his superior skills and determination keep him from falling behind. Before he can catch his breath, the second round begins, and his opponent is Lucius, who seeks revenge for his wife's death. No matter how sincerely Acacius explains, Lucius, blinded by hatred, only wants his life. The two engage in a fierce, life-or-death battle, fighting to a stalemate. In the stands, Lucilla is torn, watching her husband and son fight, not knowing what to do.
Pick it up!
As the battle continues, the more experienced Acacius gains the upper hand. Seeing Lucius's determination to die, Acacius feels a pang of pity and slowly lowers his weapon. he signals his surrender to the crowd and kneels down. He loves Lucilla deeply and cannot bear to see her heartbroken over their fight. He also admires Maximus's heroic deeds. At that moment, Emperor Geta coldly signals for Acacius to be executed, but Lucius, on the verge of avenging his wife, hesitates. He realizes that both he and Acacius are victims of this brutal war and corrupt politics. The root of all this tragedy lies in the corrupt Roman Empire. Facing this once enemy but now respectable opponent, Lucius feels a mix of emotions and finally lowers his weapon.
Kill him! Kill him!
However, their actions anger the crowd, who see the arena as sacred and a place for excitement and release.
Is this how Rome treats its hero? Tell me! If his life has no value, what are yours worth?
The Roman people, already living in misery, explode in anger at the co-ruler's interference, leading to a violent conflict outside the palace. As the situation spirals out of control, tensions between the co-rulers escalate. Caracalla angrily blames Geta for ordering Acacius's execution, and their argument turns heated. Maximus, sensing an opportunity, incites Caracalla to confront Geta with a dagger.
I've always protected you.
The scene shifts to Lucilla in the dungeon. Acacius's death finally eases the tension and resentment between Lucius and his mother. Lucius puts on the ring left by Maximus, determined to fulfill his father's legacy by overthrowing the corrupt Roman rule and bringing peace to the people. He then calls his most trusted friend and gives him Maximus's ring, asking him to deliver it to the rebel leader waiting outside the city. The friend successfully completes the mission, riding all night to deliver the ring.
Who gave you this? Lucius Aurelius, the Prince of Rome.
Meanwhile, under Maximus's manipulation, Caracalla unwittingly passes the positions of the two rulers to Maximus and a monkey, revealing his sinister intentions. Maximus finally achieves his goal, becoming the most powerful man in Rome. The senators, though unwilling, are forced to submit to him. Maximus's first decree is to imprison Lucilla. To avoid direct execution and potential backlash, he decides to organize another duel, using Lucius's victory or defeat to determine Lucilla's fate. To ensure Lucius's death, Maximus gives him a harmless wooden sword. But Lucius, with the support of the other slaves, leads a fierce attack on the Roman guards, quickly overpowering them. He then dons Maximus's armor and weapons, symbolizing honor and courage. Today, he will lead the slaves to overthrow the corrupt Roman rule and fulfill his father's unfinished mission. Amid the crowd's thunderous cheers, Lucius walks alone into the arena. Roman soldiers surround him from all sides, leaving him no chance of escape. But at this critical moment, the slaves, who have been lying in wait, rush into the arena. Instantly, the arena turns into a chaotic battlefield, with fierce fighting breaking out. As the cavalry joins the battle, the unfair fight enrages the crowd, who shout in protest. Amid the chaos, Maximus sneaks up behind Caracalla and stabs him with a hidden needle, killing him instantly. Seeing Lucius about to rescue Lucilla, Maximus, in a desperate attempt, draws his bow. With the royal bloodline in Rome now extinct, Maximus believes he will naturally become the regent, ruling the Roman Empire, but Lucius will not let him succeed. He mounts a horse, planning to lead the people out of the city and await the right moment to strike back. Maximus, panicked, follows closely behind, trying to escape. Meanwhile, the 5,000-strong rebel army approaches the city, facing off against the 6,000 Roman soldiers guarding it. Coincidentally, they trap Maximus on a bridge.
Will nothing kill this barbarian?
Name is Lucius Verus Aurelius.
A man does not become emperor by bloodline alone. It must be taken by force and kept by force. Are you such a man as this?
I don't fight for power. I fight to free Rome from men like you and to return it to them.
The gods themselves want Rome reborn. They sent me to fulfill that task.
And what if your gods sent me here to kill you? Huh? It's time to end this, Maximus! Yeah!
Seeing Macrinus, Lucius charges at him without hesitation, and the two collide on their horses. Both armies stop and watch the duel that will decide Rome's fate. Lucius, young and strong, fueled by anger and hatred, initially gains the upper hand. But Macrinus, with his cunning and ruthlessness, fights back fiercely. In the intense battle, Lucius's sword breaks.
Of tyranny.
Macrinus seizes the opportunity, attacking Lucius relentlessly, but Lucius's armor, seemingly protected by Maximus's spirit, deflects all his blows. Lucius finds an opening and strikes Macrinus with a sharp stone, finally defeating him. In the end, Lucius stands before the Roman soldiers, revealing his true identity. He will inherit the throne and lead the Roman people on a difficult path to restore the glory of the Republic, ushering in a new era.